Good evening, Renita Bonadies. Last month, President Rausch announced for public comment that I admit I had not practiced as board president, that we do require name and then address. The same address information being requested is redacted in responses to my FOIA request. Addresses are not considered personally identifiable information, PII, since they can be found everywhere and are not like social security numbers. Now the board has decided to follow a policy 2 years after it was adopted on June 22nd of 22 under the previous board president. So the board is okay with asking for PII by your definition to be put on public record. I realize you say they can give the information to Sarah after they speak. However, a new person to these meetings would not know that they were giving information which is considered to be PII by the district when they state it. Why request it in one situation while redacting it in another? Is this to put a speaker at risk or to intimidate someone from speaking? And by the way, the Open Meeting Act has no requirement that the public give this information to make public comment. It is something that the board chose to add to their policies and now to enforce. The board began putting these 3 paragraphs of threatening wording in the public comment section of the agenda almost 3 years ago. This board has continued with this language, which ends with, if the speaker is unsure of the legal ramifications of what they're about to say, the district urges them to consult first with a legal advisor. The requirement to have these 3 paragraphs is not in the policy manual, but the superintendent and board have refused to remove it and go back to the previous wording of the Board of Education will receive public comment. That does sound so much more inviting for the public to participate in these meetings. Finally, I submitted a letter to the board, and I'm not sure you received it, as it's not noted on the agenda nor in the agenda packet. Did you receive it? It was a copy of the letter to the editor about the missed opportunity at the so-called town hall meeting held last month. It is available online at the Midland Daily News website, and I have copies if anyone is interested. I would like to know what determines whose letters to the board get listed on the agenda. Either all the letters to the board, including FOIA requests, should be noted, as they have been for over a decade. Oh, wait. I did see you took care of that already. This month, the agenda was switched from correspondences to and from the Board of Education to simply correspondences from the Board of Education. I guess the public transparency has yet again been moved by the superintendent, who is responsible for preparing the agenda in coordination with the board president, according to the policy manual. Thank you for once again showing the public just how much you want this to be an open and transparent process of doing business. As our elected public servants and your employee, you need to do better. Thank you.
Greetings to President Rausch. What happened on September 6th at Central Auditorium was not a town hall. Full stop. Moving on. Thank you for sharing the population estimate for the bond. It appears you spent $500 to get a study with many assumptions. The most concerning assumptions are ignoring the fact that the U.S. is below replacement rate and the population is shrinking. And 2, that there will be no increase in homeschooling or other alternatives over the next 10 years. Mask the kids again and you'll probably watch homeschooling rise again. Quick background for the next part. My father retired in 1989 after 45 years in a union job with a good pension. It was, however, not indexed for inflation, so he currently has a negative monthly cash flow, and we know the ravages of long-term inflation. So now we go to the marketing ploys for the bond proposals. In the past, we had a shrinking fund, and it had a start and an end with a finite period. Here's the first one. When we moved to the 2015 bond, and I, like many, was not paying attention to the fact that you basically wrote a second mortgage on my house, paying that full 2.95 millage for 20 years and tailing out to 35 years. Now you were wanting another round of bonds and speak only of the increase in the millage. I view this as highly misleading, as the 2.95 is continuing and all versions of the 2025 bond get you over 6 mils, and we'll be paying on that beyond 2055. There's a quick plot of the total mills with some assumptions on the rate of reduction on the latter half. The numbers out to 2035 match your FAQs. And show the second one. And here is the same graphic in dollars. but that there's a light blue arrow that shows the rate of increase in the taxable value of my house over the last 3 years. All inflation, no improvements. Even assuming no hyperinflation, I'm on my way to $800 a year in 10 years, thanks to compounding. I took the liberty of adding your 2035 bond to this, since your behavior looks like you feel entitled to that too. And I tucked inflation, if I tuck inflation under that, I'm on my way to over $1,000 a year. Please feel free to make your version of total millage over time instead of the increased smokescreen, and I'll gladly use that in future talks. From my perspective, you wrote an inflation adjusting mortgage on my house in 2015, and you want to write another one in 2025. Your regular budgets have ballooned from 80 million in 2019 to over 110 million now, and third graders still can't read. So why should taxpayers fund these dreams while it's not working? Thank you. Oh, I got 22 seconds. Oh, okay. I was in a focus group, and I was glad to be in a focus group. You still have a lot of people really pissed off about closing 5 elementary schools several years ago, and the fact that you look like an automobile salesman with a feature package of 3 ads instead of having them split out was found to be interesting. Thank you.